On behalf of Brooklyn for Peace, I'm delighted to welcome everybody to this celebration of our 30th anniversary. And just speaking personally, it's kind of spectacular to see so many old friends and new friends and have everybody here, gathered together. So it's really great. My job this evening is to share with you some of the history of our organization and to recognize some of the people who helped bring the group into existence. But before turning to this task, I want to express my appreciation to our distinguished guest this evening, Noam Chomsky. With Partha Banerjee will be officially introducing Noam and presenting him with our Pathmakers Award. There are a few people more deserving. For decades now, Noam Chomsky has been exposing government lies, and there are quite a few of them, and speaking, writing, and acting on behalf of peace and social justice. And well, as far as I know, no one's invited him to the White House for his wise advice. He represents for millions of people here and abroad the voice of conscience. So please join me in welcoming Noam Chomsky. So now to history. And I am a history professor, so it's very alarming to have a history professor talk about this. We began as a group of parents at Open House Nursery School on Atlantic Avenue, just a few blocks from here. And this was 1983, during the miserable Reagan years. And the immediate stimulus was the U.S. invasion of Grenada, which happened to occur the very same evening as the parent-teacher meeting for the all-day force. So this particular gathering of parents and teachers got very acrimonious because the teachers had declared a rule that all parents had to leave the classroom by 9:15. And back then that seemed very rigid. I mean, the kids were 4. What was so hard, what people wanted to know, if a mom or dad lingered at the sand table until 9:17? So there was a heated exchange and the teachers were defensive. The next day I was talking to Charlotte Phillips about this, how these children's issues loomed for all of us so large, while the invasion of an entire country seemed to disappear. What made this odd was our generational experience. Mostly in Central America, and engaging in a nuclear arms race that could destroy the world. And what were we doing about any of this? So I'm sure it was Charlotte who had the idea we should put up a flyer, call a meeting at the nursery school, and see if anyone wanted to discuss this. And we were both very nervous that nobody would come. But to our surprise, many people did. And together, we found many shared concerns. How do you balance responsibility for your own family with responsibility to the larger society? And how do you figure that out when the pressures of daily life, of work and kids, make it difficult to have an adult conversation with anyone, even if they live in your house? So finding this unexpected commonality, we continued to meet over many months in the little chairs in the nursery school, the open house, and sometimes it really felt like we had become the all-day forest. A highlight for us was when Grace Paley, who lived in the neighborhood, came and read us one of her stories. And there we were, grown-up people, teachers, social workers, artists, sitting in our little chairs for story time. And it was fairly ridiculous, but it was ridiculous, truthfully. The point being, we didn't plan to be an organization, we were just discussing things. And then in the spring of 1984, the Reagan administration proposed something so idiotic that it cried out for action. As part of the nuclear buildup in the Cold War, the Navy was planning to build a home port in Staten Island and to base nuclear-capable cruise missiles on ships that would travel back and forth through these waters. Now, as all of you know, that's a crowded harbor, and collisions easily happen there. And if cruise missiles were on those ships and there was an accident, a plutonium release would potentially kill thousands, if not millions, of New Yorkers. Now, of course, federal projects are supposed to be accompanied by an environmental impact statement. And recognizing, the Navy's very smart, and recognizing that some people, some cranky people, might regard the proposed home port as an environmental menace, the Navy did the obvious. It decided to skip the environmental impact statement. And for a procedural reason which I no longer remember, the Navy needed approval from the now defunct New York City Board of Estimate to grant a waiver, so they didn't have to do this statement. And learning of this, our little group of discussants decided to join a citywide coalition to keep the cruise missiles out. By then, American cruise missiles had become a major issue in Europe because they threatened a nuclear conflagration and seemed designed for use in third world conflicts. As we swung into action, somebody said, hey, if we're a group, we need a name. And I think it was the late Kenneth Brill who piped up with the idea, why not Brooklyn Parents for Peace? And so began a 30-year history, which I promised Tom Martinez I would condense into 4 minutes. Now, I went to another gala recently, and I realized that it's customary at events of this kind for the speaker to ask for a lot of money and dutifully explain why their particular organization is one of the greatest organizations in the galaxy. But if nobody minds, I'm going to skip that. This is an expensive evening for lots of folks. But to those of you who can make an additional contribution to Brooklyn for Peace, I can promise you we will use it well. In thinking about tonight and inviting some of our founders back, I did remember a few of the qualities of the original group which helped us to last. We liked each other. We listened to each other. We tried to learn things and be open-minded in our political discussion. Maybe it was the humbling effect of sitting in those nursery school chairs. Maybe this may be the antidote for every doctrinaire person in the world. We're sitting in little nursery school chairs, so it's kind of hard to be self-righteous or doctrinaire when you're that close to the ground and you're like looking at the crayon box. And above all, we tried to make our protest activities relevant and comfortable to a wider community. In various incarnations, Brooklyn for Peace continued to organize around U.S. intervention in Central America, the nuclear arms race, and domestic social issues. After September 11th, when large numbers of Brooklyn folks went looking for a peace group, we were still around. The multiple tragedies of that period were keenly felt here in Brooklyn. The ashes from the World Trade Center settling in our homes and in our streets. The death of people from these neighborhoods, many people from these neighborhoods. The jeopardy experienced by many of the Muslim families who lived here. And most horrifying of all was the exploitation of this attack as an excuse for the Bush administration to wage war in Muslim countries. A state of affairs that has sadly continued right until this day. As many new people came into our group, it was time to change our name. The all-day force had grown up, and you didn't need a nursery school child to qualify for membership. And so we became Brooklyn for Peace, a new and more diverse entity with some continuous values. And now that I've gone through this whole history and brought you all up to speed, I'm going to invite the original founders to stand up. And I'm going to say their names, ask them to stand up, hold your applause until we get to the end. So, Gene Berman, Bob Weiss and Sally Smith, Margaret Cusack, Fran Heller, Leslie Brill, Dan Silverman and Barbara Deinhardt, Alan Eisenberg, and two of the 4-year-olds from that period, because they made little signs. Jenny Eisenberg, my daughter, and Jessica Phillips Fine, Charlotte's daughter. Every person that you're seeing made contributions. Margaret Cusack created those beautiful banners that we always have at our demonstrations. Jean Berman was our first lawyer who helped us incorporate. Barbara Deinhardt was an original board member when we had a board of 3 people. Leslie and others trudged off to the Board of Estimate meetings. Her husband, the late Ken Brill, gave us our name. Fran's sister created our logo, and everybody together made this modest group work. So I ask you to recognize all of the founders of Brooklyn for Peace. Recognize 3 other people who came in early, stayed on our board for many years. Manuel Adobos, Manuel, wherever you are, please stand up. And Tara Curry, wherever you are, Tara, please stand up. And there's a 3rd person who I have to tell you is my personal hero and really one of the first heroes of the anti-war movement, who is Captain Howard Levy, who was a physician in the military and the first doctor to say, I will not train other doctors to engage in counterinsurgency in other people's villages. Howard Levy went to prison. And last but not least, I want to recognize Charlotte Phillips. This can be like a For many years, we worked together as co-chairs. People always wondered how we managed that, actually. And for the last 8 years, Charlotte has carried that responsibility alone. Her unbelievable energy, dedication, intelligence, and above all, her personal kindness has been the glue that has held Brooklyn for Peace together through these many years. So now it's dinner time. But I didn't want to end these remarks on a note of nostalgia because there's too much work to be done. I'm sure everybody in this room is acutely aware of the imperfections of the present. The environmental dangers that outstripped the plutonium worries of 1984, the ongoing tragedy of Gaza and the occupied territories, the revival of U.S. military activity in Iraq and now Syria. There are many people in Brooklyn for Peace who are active on these and other projects. And of course, everybody's help is still needed. But as we move ahead, I'd like to think that our group has retained some of the original qualities: friendliness, flexibility, and attunement to our surrounding community, and above all, an instinct for effective action. Thank you.